And joining us now here on Black and Gold Banneret, the head coach of UCF Track and Field, it's Dana Boone joining us. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good morning.
Morning. So you're getting set for the NCAA's here in Jacksonville. I'm always curious. How do you treat this week for NCAA's? Do you treat it any different than you would for a track meet earlier in the season? Do you treat it the same? Take us through what's it like from a preparation standpoint.
Well, from a preparation point of view, we're coming off a conference. You've got this conference, NCAA prelim, and then hopefully the national round. At this point in the season, the work is already done. So it's more about racing and recovering and just making sure everyone stays healthy and just has enough rest at this point in time. There's a saying, a lot of coaches always say, the hay is in the barn. So it's so the work's done now. We're just kind of maintaining.
What has this season been like for your program? It's such a unique year for all the sports teams for various reasons, protocols, and things like that. What has it been like for your program?
We were actually just reminiscing about some of it yesterday, and some of it I totally forgot. Like I must have blocked it out of my memory about, even the limits in the weight room and how we couldn't all lift together and just some of the practice protocols and the things that we had to endure this fall to get to this point. It's almost like you forgot all of that because you're now doing what you love to do and things are starting to return to normal. But I think everyone would say the sacrifices were well worth it. And, we just want to end this year on a high note. And that seems like such a long time ago. But, I always say the future's bright because we've endured so much this year. And to come out having a season like we are just bodes well for the future.
What have you learned about your group this year that maybe you didn't know going in?
They're a positive bunch of people, like all across the board. I love this group. They are positive and they're highly competitive. I think it's fun. I like the challenging and the little smack talking a little bit across the group, especially for the jumps and the sprints and hurdles. It's been a fun energy to bring to the table. But I think they're all young, but they don't care that they're young. They just kind of are like, and so what, so let's go, and so that's the energy that you love to see. You see less fear and more confidence, and they just want to compete.
That's the thing that kind of struck me looking at your team is just you're so young. I wonder if a part of you maybe feels like you're kind of ahead of schedule of some of your performers and some of the performances this year that maybe what your expectations were because of the youth.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knew. I knew Renai was special. I didn't know she was going to be that special. And I definitely thought she could go under 13 seconds. I just didn't think she would drop that much under 13 seconds so quickly. So yeah, she's definitely, sped things up. But the youth of the rest of the team, I think it was a nice progression. I think there's still a whole lot more. It's like with the COVID year, you didn't get to do all the things that you normally would do. We had to make a lot of sacrifices. We missed the first 5 weeks of training because we didn't have, a weight room to train in because of COVID and trying to get all the teams organized. And so we were 5 weeks behind on a lot of our lifting and stuff. And that affects a performance sport like track and field. So you can't make that deficit up, and that's huge for some of these performances. So I think we don't look at it like they're ahead of schedule. We just look like, man, there's so much more we can do, because we haven't all lined up on the same day, healthy and ready to go. So once we've had one person healthy and then they come back, someone else goes down, and then that person gets back and then someone else goes down. So we've never really fully performed at our full potential, I feel like, as a coach.
You mentioned Renai Jones. She's been the big story this spring, obviously running the school record 12.73 in the 100-meter hurdles, winning the conference meet at 12.76. She's going to be competing in two events in the 100 meters and as well as the hurdles. You mentioned, tell me about when you first saw her. What makes her so special? She's been incredible this spring.
Well, in track and field terms, a lot of coaches would look at her and say she's wired. She just has that natural bounce off the track, and she has some of the fastest feet I've ever seen move. So when she hits the ground, it's a lot of force, and it's just she's springy and wiry. That's the best way to look at her. And then she's such a small frame, so she's powerful. And at this point in time, I mean, really, we can honestly say that this year is her first year of actually really lifting weights. We lifted last year, but when you're lifting the bar, you're trying to figure out how to lift. You can't really count that as actual lifting. So she got to put some weight on the bar this year and actually get a little bit stronger, and that's going to be her benefit in the years to come. She is such a baby in this sport. I would say she is just barely scratched the surface of what she can actually do. There's still so many technical things to clean up on her racing and her mechanics, and you know she's just a joy to work with.
It's kind of frightening that she's only scratching the surface. I mean, a lot of tracks, would take her spring for a career in some cases. That's kind of scary.
Oh, I would too, but I recognize that she is truly special. And you don't like to use that word often, but she really is. She's one of those few people that have the ability, should she so choose, to go to that next level and be a world-class athlete. I mean, she definitely, but it's so interesting with her. You just I think she's just enjoying this experience right now. I think she's enjoying her team. It's fun for her to be on the team, and she just signed up to try to be a SAC rep for next year. So, I mean, she's a great student. She's just a lot of energy, brings a lot of positivity to the group that, you know, she's just getting started and kind of focusing in on this sport, and she's still not all the way zoned in. So that's why you just look at it and say, wow, she's still got a whole lot more,
That's that's pretty remarkable. And she's been well spoken. I saw her on another UCF show podcast appear, and did a great job there. And she's been written about in other outlets as well as here on our Banneret. What's that like to have someone like her who can represent your program the way she does?
Well, it's exactly what you would want as a head coach. This is my third season here. And so she told me the other day, she said, I'm glad I could be your first recruiting class. I said, I am glad too. She was definitely my first recruiting class. So it just gives credence to what our staff wanted to do in terms of building for the future and the type of athletes that we wanted. We wanted great student athletes. And she is truly the epitome of a student athlete. She has great grades, a great attitude. She's well spoken, just a sweetheart. I don't know anyone who doesn't like her on the team, So, and even in the midst of all of her success, she's very still humble but yet fun, and this is a team thing for her. She loves the group she trains with, her hurdle group and everything like that. So everyone truly celebrates everyone's success. So as a coach, I couldn't ask for much more than that. That's what we want as we build this program.
Of course, you won't be the only one performing at the NCAAs. Let's talk about some of the other athletes that are performing. Alexis Woodley will also be in the 100-meter hurdles. What can you tell us about her, and what makes her so successful?
Well, she is a graduate transfer. So she came to us having, already graduated and completed, in college. So she brought some experience, and, she had a patch where she hadn't run fast in a few years. So for her, this was about resurrecting and finding her greatness again. And that's kind of what the mission was. And, I still feel like she still got some more in her as well. I think the way she's been training with Renai, she's definitely has the capabilities of going under 13 seconds. And so I would just love to see that for her. But she's been a lot of energy. Everyone loves her too. I can't say enough about this team. They're just a fun-loving group, and they all bring something different. But I love her personality, and I call her the dramatic one, but it's so funny. She just brings a great energy to the group.
You mentioned the experience that she brings. Is that something? Is she like one of the leaders? Is she one of the keys from that standpoint with such a young roster to have somebody like Woodley who has that experience?
Well, I think she does bring, because she's been there, done that. But I see that this group doesn't have a clear cut leader, which is interesting. I just think everyone kind of has a part. Everyone, I could say there's a role for everyone. Everyone brings a little something to the table that adds to the group of on this team, and I think that's what makes this whole team special.
You also have Latasha Smith, who's going to be in the 400 meters, ran a personal best 53.88 seconds. She's from West Palm Beach.
Mhm.
She finished fourth in the American Conference Championships. Tell us about her and her year, and certainly her potential.
Well, she, we call her the little one. She is, barely 5 feet tall, but she's just got these long legs and a big heart. So, you look at her and you're just like, what is this girl doing running the quarter? But boy, she's small in stature, but mighty in heart. And I just want the best for her. She has had some ups and downs this season with little injuries here and there. So she's feeling good. I just would love for her to go in, and the freshman record's like 53.5. And that's what, we'd shoot for. And I think she can run faster than that, but it just depends on, I always tell those kids their success is determined by them. The hay is in the barn, the workouts indicate she's ready. So she's just got to go out there and make that happen for her. But I love watching her run, and especially on the anchor of a relay. I keep wanting to move her different places, but boy, she just does something special on the end of it. I don't know if it's because she's short and she's got this chip on her shoulder, but boy, she starts coming for people, and I love watching her run.
Yeah, she kind of makes it that edge there that kind of says, "All right, well, I'll just put you where this works. Where if it ain't
Yeah.
broke, don't fix it, right?"
Yep. Yeah.
Now, long distance has been very successful as well. Of course, everybody knows Anne-Marie Blaney is one of the greatest of all time long distance in UCF history. So anytime somebody matches a record of hers, you're doing something pretty special, and that's what Charlotte Crook has done this year.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about her. She will be representing the 1,500-meter run. She's tied the school record held by Blaney, who set it in 2017. She's the first night to represent UCF in the 1,500-meter at the regionals. And she's just a sophomore.
Yeah, thank goodness for COVID in some ways. All these redshirt years.
Yeah.
But Coach Jackson has done a phenomenal job with the distance group this year. I think he's recruited the right people. Charlotte was here when we got here, but we definitely saw the potential in her, and he's just done a really good job of developing her. And he told me a while ago, she loved the 8, but he always told me he thought she could move up and be pretty successful in the 15. So those things are coming to fruition for sure. But she brings she brings the experience. I mean, she has been here with us for a couple of years, and she's getting better, and gradually you just watch the maturity of these kids from freshman year to this is their sophomore year, or technically it's probably her junior year, but sophomore year on the track. But you watch how they mature and how they're able to handle workouts, and how their perspective changes. I mean, we talked to Charlotte and one of her teammates, and we were talking about, man, they were like, Coach, I can't even believe I did that or look like that as a freshman. They're like, they look like athletes now. They are fit, they are lean, they are focused. And it's like night and day. And that's what you want to see as a coach, the development of your athletes to that level. So Charlotte's done a great job in that respect.
Yeah, and no doubt she's done it. You mentioned obviously your Brian Jackson, your assistant coach, who kind of runs the cross country in season. And I bring that up because their long distance for your program has been tremendous here. Because obviously we've talked about Crook, but obviously Valerie Lestro dominated the cross country season, took it by storm. Just take us through that philosophy and the job Coach Jackson's done with the long distance there, because you got multiple runners here that could be challenging a lot of Anne-Marie Blaney's records, both in cross country and in track.
Yeah, I mean, we're in Florida, so you don't want to I don't know that we're going to have a bunch of 10K runners or anything like that, but I gave Coach Jackson the charge of find the best, half mile, 1,500, 3K kind of kids, and that can help cross country. And that's how you build your program. And if you find some kids, I'll make sure you get some money, but because sometimes it's hard when you have 3 sports. You kind of have to choose sometimes, like, are you going to put all your money in cross country, and then you're going after one season versus going after 2 seasons. So he's done a really good job recruiting. When he came to me last year and said, "Hey, I got the best miler in the state that wants to commit to UCF," I'm like, "Of course we'll take her. Sign her up, whatever it takes." So especially when these kids are gonna walk on other places just to be a part of a team when they can come here and make a difference. And that's what Valerie has done for us, and she's been a key piece to building this program. So you're going to see we've made some additions for next year as well that are definitely going to help, because when you look at the top 5 in cross country, we had some experience, but there were some young kids in there too. It was Valerie and Allie Del Rey and Mackenzie Kruzik are all freshmen. So and then we had a couple, Charlotte and I believe Tori were the veterans in that group. So we're still, once again, we got a young group. So Coach Jackson's done a good job recruiting and building that program. So look forward to a lot of that in the future.
We're speaking with UCF track and field head coach Dana Boone here on Black and Gold Banneret. Just talk about your arrival here, what drew you to UCF, and then kind of building this program up like you are right now. You mentioned the youth and the recruiting there. I mean, track and field has great tradition here. Certainly, a national champion and Ariel Scott back in the 2013, one of the greatest UCF teams on all sports ever constructed. There's been so many great successful track and field athletes coming from UCF, as well as obviously Anne-Marie Blaney, who's put cross country on the map for UCF and things like that. So just take us when you first kind of what drew you to come to UCF and kind of how the process of building this program.
Well, I mean, I think anyone in the country would look at this place and go, "Wow, Orlando, Florida, a great recruiting state, and wow, such a centrally located campus in a major city. Why wouldn't you take a look at it?" So obviously, yes, Coach Carol Smith did a great job years ago in building this program. When you look at the record books, you're like, Jesus, how, sometimes you scratch your head and go, how are we going to break any of these records? Those are pretty phenomenal. So when Renai broke the hurdle record, I was like, okay, well, hey, that's good. Not only did she break the freshman record, she broke the actual school record. And, looking at that at the time, you're just sitting there like, 1281, that's kind of fast. You don't come across hurdlers like that all the time. So to break that record definitely was, a good indication that we were moving in the right direction. But I mean, this is just a great place. And I'm just one of those people that I will take my time to build it and try to build it correctly. We want to make sure we got good kids with good character and good grades as well. Our academics have truly gone up in terms of what our expectation is and our team GPA and things like that. Those are the foundations for making a great team, is that you have to have good character. So it's not always just about running fast, because you can always take people and add them to your team. There's a million transfers and everything, but are they the right fit, and will they help build, and do they possess the philosophy of what you want moving forward as you build your program? So we want good citizens, good representation of like you said, well-spoken young ladies that can represent our school well and bring good press to UCF. So I look at all of those things were benefits. And this wasn't the first time I kind of had to come in and try to kind of get a program back on track. So that's what, I just got to hire the right staff and make sure we recruit well. We're only as good as the recruits we have, coaching, we're good coaches, but we're not miracle workers. We got to have something to work with. So, that is and always will be a priority is recruiting.
Speak to you, because I've noticed, at least from afar, that you want to build your program to be all around talented across the board, which for people that don't follow track and field closely, that's not easy to do. You don't just do that overnight. A lot of programs sometimes will go, well, they're good at one specific thing, but then not in others. But it feels like for you, you're building this up to be talented everywhere, have the depth everywhere, which takes time, but yet you've done it pretty quickly here, moving at a quick pace at least.
Well, I mean, it's always a challenge because you only have a certain amount of scholarships. And so you have to figure out, what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. So, for us, there's certain events that we've decided, hey, unless we just get a super stud in there, we're just not gonna deal with maybe like the pole vault or, like I said, the 10K or something like that. So the areas in which we can be really good and have balance, is what we're going to do. And trying to get versatile athletes. Like you said, Renai can run the 100, the 100, the 200, the hurdles, the 400 hurdles. She can run a 4x4. You want to get those kids that can do multiple events. Less one eventers and more diversity kids that can do lots of events. I always ask Coach Jackson, okay, they can run the 8 or the 15. Can they help us in cross country? And when he tells me they can help them in cross country, they get a little bit more. I listen a little bit better and say, okay, so I would rather take the one that can help us in all 3 than just the one that can help me in one. So it's very strategic in terms of trying to find the best bang for your buck that will help you long term. And especially with a sport like cross country and stuff like that. Like Charlotte's been here 3 years and she's coming into her own. Sometimes those sports take a little longer to develop. So you have to invest in these kids when they're a little bit younger in hopes that, down the line, they're going to be a big factor for you. So I think that's kind of what we've done, but it's definitely difficult. You always feel like you need just a little bit more, more money when you're spreading it out over 3 sports. So it becomes a little challenging.
Speak to recruiting in the state of Florida. What is it like to recruit in the state of Florida? What's the talent level like in the state of Florida? And then also competing in the American Conference.
Um, Obviously, the state of Florida is tremendous and phenomenal in terms of its talent. There's so many talent. You really don't have to leave the state if you don't want to. It's just a matter of, do the kids want to stay or do they want to leave? And it's for us, most of our kids are from Florida. We get a lot of Florida kids. There's a lot of benefits to having Florida kids in terms of building your team, because you can do so many more things with, bright futures and other type scholarships that help you be able to get more kids in the state. So love the high school kids in the state of Florida. Always will recruit the state of Florida. And what was the second? I
The
forgot.
American Conference. What's it like being a part, competing in the American Conference championships?
Well, first year was totally different than this year. I mean, the first year here, you're like, okay, all right, this is doable. We're gonna be all right. And then this year, you come back and you're in the same spot. You finish in the same position, but you're like, that was a lot harder to get 5th place in this conference, and you're looking from 5th to 3rd is like 10 points. And so as there's been coaching changes in the conference has stepped up gradually, great. I mean, the top end of the conference is pretty darn competitive. You're going to look up and see a lot of athletes in the American Conference that are in the national, in this NCAA preliminary round. And hopefully, for the good of the conference, we have, as many people from our conference make it to the national meet. This is definitely going to be a competitive conference. It's going to be tough. There's not going to be any cakewalk in this conference. It's going to be a dogfight every year.
No, I think that's what so much stands out about the league is how deep it is from the standpoint. I mean, obviously Houston is obviously the most recognized. They got the big names, Leroy Burrell, Carl Lewis have always been a part of Houston. I mean, I followed that program at Houston, and UCF have gone at it since back in the Conference USA days. So I feel like I've seen Houston up close when I've traveled to Houston in the past. I mean, what's it like to be in such a deep league and with programs like Houston where, track and field's a big deal there. I mean, in a lot of these schools, they take it it's a very serious and brings the best out of everybody.
Yeah, I've known Leroy. Leroy was on my recruiting visit when I visited University of Houston as a student athlete. So he was one of my hosts. So I've known him that long, and we used to battle against each other when I coached at Tulane. So I've known that program, and I've known him for a long time, and he's won quite a few, and I won a few too. But it steps your game up. I know when I got when I got the job at the national meet, I saw Carl and Leroy, and they told me, they were like, "We're coming for you." I said, "Coming for me? I'm trying to get to where y'all are." So the competitiveness there was fun for me. I like it. It's fun, and so we're all friends. within the conference, but we're all competitive too, and we're all stepping our game up. I was like, wow, this pandemic, everyone struggled, but boy, people really put some work in, and some of those performances were nation highly ranked national performances from our conference, and that's impressive to see, and you always want to see that. So I enjoy the competition. We'll accept the challenge, and we'll continue to work and try to figure out how we're going to get to the top.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize they were trash talkers, but then again, maybe I shouldn't be surprised considering what their career
Oh,
was in the Olympics there. Which,
yeah,
man.
it was all fun. I laughed. They're a funny group. And like I said, we respect each other, and no, I didn't take any offense. I just kind of laughed and was like, all right, game on. I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. A few other athletes too that have made some marks this year. Selena Wright, 400-meter hurdles, first night to advance to the regionals in the 400 hurdles since 2017. Then you also UCF for the first time since 2013 will be represented in the long jump and the triple jump. Jasmine Scott Kilgo will be part of the long jump as well. And then you've got Ashira Collins, who will be part of the triple jump there. Just talk about those three and their impact on those respective events.
Well, I brought in a new coach this year, and he didn't get here till late, really October. Um, and he's done a really good job with the jumpers. I recruited some jumpers because I felt like the field events was an area where we could capitalize and be a lot better in. And so Jasmine also is a transfer. She came in from Louisiana Monroe with Coach Smith. So she has definitely stepped up. She had an injury this year and didn't get to compete very much, but she came back the last couple of meets and then showed up at the conference meet and had a big PR. So that was great for her. Ashira Collins, I went down to Lake City and talked to her and her mom, and they came on a visit, and we got that deal signed pretty quickly. I knew she was going to be special. I saw her compete at the state meet, and I was like, you just talk about a raw talent. So it was not surprising to see her come out here and win the conference triple jump title. Kiera Lee is also a young lady from Madison, Wisconsin, and she is so springy, and she is still figuring things out. She looks so much better. She's just coming along, and she hasn't yet scratched the surface of what she's able to do as well. I think she's still got some big jumps in there for her, but it's nice to see her having done a combination jump this year. And I think, like I said, for a group, if there was a group that missing the weight room affected a lot, it would be the jumps and the throws area. Not having 5 weeks of lifting really affects those areas. So I'm proud of the representation for the field events, and that just tells you, future is going to keep coming in that area. The future is bright. We'll continue to put the right pieces in place there, and make our presence known in that area as well.
Also, UCF will have a 4x4 relay team for the first time since 2017. The top 12 individuals in each event, along with the top 12 team relay teams, will earn a spot in the NCAA championships, which will run June 9th through the 12th in Eugene, Oregon, one of the great places for track and field. Is that something do you even bring up with your athletes? Do you block that out? What's the kind of the approach when it comes to that, knowing as far as that?
No, they need to know what needs to be done, and
Okay.
they need to know the expectation, and they need to know that, hey, we want to get to Eugene. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And I even I told them, if they were like, Coach, if we make it to Eugene, what are you gonna do? And I was like, okay, because they always harass me about stuff. I told them I'd get my nose pierced if somebody makes it to Eugene. So um, I told him I wasn't going to keep it in there forever, but I would I would do that. So that's part of their motivation and stuff. Sometimes they need a little extra, but no, the relay team knows what needs to be done. And we're on the outside looking in, but at the end of the day, anybody on any given day can be beaten, and it's about their attitude. I mean, 2 years ago, we took a relay team, which we didn't have our fastest relay leg on there, and we went to the meeting. I said, hey guys, it's up to you guys. Make up your mind. Either you're going into nationals or you're not. Now it's up to you, you four. And they decided that's what they were going to do. And they ran 43:74, I think, and made it. And that was on them. So that's what the 4x4 is. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, hey, we gotta have an act of God, but we gotta be in the race. And how, if we're in the race, that's gonna be determined by you guys. So their attitude at this point, this is about them and what they decide they want to get from this experience, and if they want to give themselves a chance to make it to Eugene.
Two last questions. When you have a season during a year of the Olympics, what's that like? Any different? Any more special? Any more pressure? What's it like when you have a season on an Olympic year?
Well, I mean, you just start seeing performances like you see this year. I mean, like people start running crazy, like things that you just didn't expect. You're like, oh, must be an Olympic year. That's kind of what you look up when you look up and you're looking at different conferences, and you're looking at, like, in the hurdles, 12:9 doesn't make a final. It's like, wait, what? What do you mean 12:9 doesn't, people running 45 seconds and not getting, or 46 flat or something and not getting a call back in the 400 meters for men. Those are the indications it's an Olympic year. So people tend to rise to the occasion, and performances always step up. But I don't know that you approach it that much different. Maybe you want to race a little less if you feel like you have somebody that might have a shot of having a longer season because of the Olympic Games and the trials and stuff like that. But I think the biggest standout is that the performances tend to go through the roof.
Everybody's at peak performance in Olympic year. Got it. That makes a ton of sense. Last question: what's going to be the keys for success in Jacksonville and beyond for your athletes? What's going to be the key?
We just have to stay focused, and we have to execute. And we don't need to go in there and do anything out of the ordinary. We're going to warm up the same. We're going to do the same things that we normally do. It's just about execution. Now it's about those little things. It's like, hey, we need to put this whole race together. You've seen the pieces and parts of it as you've gone through. So this isn't about nerves or anything like that. This is just about, can we get to the meet and properly execute what we need to do? And if we do that, we'll be okay and we'll have success.
Well, Coach, we wish you very well and good luck this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a busy time preparation, but boy, it's been a lot of fun to watch your team, your athletes perform this year, and their individual performances and team performances. Good luck this week, and thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.